Welcome to Technology and Education Today. I'm Richard Smith.
And I'm Caroline Crawford.
And today we are talking about why college students don't seem to be able to write very well. And this is a problem that I've noticed for some time. I'm getting a very strange look here from Caroline. In courses that I have taught at least two different universities at the master's degree level, I get papers or written assignments from students, and some of them have sentences that are simply not understandable. There's confusion between using singular pronouns and plural nouns, or the reverse. Sentence fragments are common, and so on and so forth. And this is a phenomenon that I think is taking place across colleges and universities across the United States.
To be fair, K to 12, at least in the United States, is focused upon high-stakes testing. Whether it's a test to get out of a grade level to move on, whether it's you have to pass a certain state-mandated or federal exam in order to progress forward, whatever it might be. It's all about standardized testing. So to be fair to the student and the classroom instructors who are trying to do their jobs, everything is focused upon the standardized testing, and the instructors do not have the opportunity, one might say, to teach. And the introduction of the digital realm these days, it's a different venue, it's a different communicative style, and with the technology is pushing audio, video to the point that the written word is not deemed necessarily as viable as it once was. So I don't necessarily blame the students for the lack of communicative style, because how many people sit down and read a real book anymore? Not that many. We have the videos, we have audio tapes, we have so many other things to take the place of well-written works that have been published for decades. So I don't necessarily blame the students as much as I do the cultural environment in which we're currently finding ourselves.
Given that,
I'm very pro-student, can you tell?
given that, we still have a situation in this country where many people cannot write, and the problem
Cannot communicate well.
And the problem is very evident where at the graduate school level, and I imagine at the undergraduate school level, where these students simply can't write coherently. And incidentally, they don't speak all that well either. I think part of what you said is correct, and nobody's blaming the student, but in point of fact, I think the
educational environment in which people are currently finding themselves is not proactively engaged in developing strong citizenry who can communicate in an appropriate fashion, in a formal fashion. Everything is very much informal these days. Posting blogs, the things people are reading, poorly developed ideas.
I think what Caroline is saying is that in the public schools, they ain't teaching kids to speak and write very well anymore. Right?
Did you really just say ain't?
I certainly did.
For example, I'm not sure that necessarily was ever the case. I was stuck in honors, gifted and talented classes growing up. So was my sister. I couldn't take it anymore. I wanted to learn what the real life was about. So I finally, if I was not allowed to drop out of gifted, talented, and honors, then I failed my way out of it. So I was in regular classes throughout the vast majority of high school, and I learned what normal people have to do. So when my sister and I sat for the exact same exams at university level, I was evaluated much stronger than she was. My evaluation was much higher than she was in the written component, because I learned very basic 5-paragraph essay, introductory sentences, concluding sentences, and my sister was in gifted and talented, and they didn't really teach that. They learned the flowery language and creative writing, which absolutely viable, important But when it comes down to a standardized exam where everyone is evaluated on the same expectation, whether you're told what that expectation is or not, I was much better prepared than perhaps my sister was prepared.
Or maybe you're smarter than your sister.
Actually, no, that's not true.
But the bottom line here, I think, is that systematic writing is no longer taught in K through 12 to the extent that it was previously. And when I say previously, I don't mean 5 or 10 years ago. I mean 30, 40, 50, 60, 70 years ago. It simply is not done. And part of the writing process is reading, because it's very difficult to write well if you don't read a great deal. And as you noted when you were speaking, the requirement to read has been greatly de-emphasized, I think, in our public schools, and we see
and
this
at home too. It's a fair thing to say.
Right.
The modeling needs to occur at home as well.
And we see this at the college level and the graduate school level, where we get students who complain if they have reading assignments in textbooks. In fact, many of them just simply don't do it, and then they wonder why their grades suffer. And part of this these
Can
days.
I tell a story?
No, not right now, because.
Oh.
And
But it always makes me giggle.
I know it makes you giggle, but we only have so much time. And part of the part of the problem is what you emphasized or discussed a moment ago, is the emphasis on the use of technology. So just like handwriting, script writing has been greatly de-emphasized in public schools, so has reading and writing been de-emphasized in public schools. And we have instances where students are allowed to be creative, and instead of writing a paper, a required paper, they are allowed to create a video. Of course, this is for many students, this is a lot more fun than writing,
And in
they
today's
opt for
world,
it.
it's a viable produte.
And so
Forms of communication are important.
and the bottom line is, when they are required to write in college, they do not have the ability to write in grammatically correct sentences or to make sense when they are writing, and this is the problem. So unless we want to redirect the entire intent of college education and say, well, it's no longer necessary to read, anything that needs to be taught that normally would have gone into a book of one sort or another, and we're talking now novels, we're talking about textbooks, we're talking about historical books, all that should simply be on a video or in animations on the internet, perhaps. And of course, this has implications beyond simply just for writing, because if you want to communicate with other people, now instead of just simply needing a pen and paper, to put it in quaint terms, you now need to buy a camera. You need to have some sort of computer technology to transfer that image, and so on and so forth, and it becomes a large production.
Well, one might suggest it's not only the written word as a communicative style, it's also presentation of oneself.
Mm-hmm.
How often are people called upon to present within a public venue?
Well, they may be called upon when they're adults, and there may be a need for that, but the problem is they haven't had very much practice and instruction in that when they were in public schools, and also many times in colleges. When I was in elementary school, we had to read aloud in front of the class. If we stumbled, a student would help us with a word, or the teacher would help us with a word. We also had to do presentations in front of the class. I think everybody remembers, of a certain age, show and tell. This was very common, so that we acquired more or less at least basic presentation skills. I think now, in the rush to make certain that our students can pass their standardized high-stakes tests, a lot of this has gone by the wayside. And the bottom line is that we are getting a generation of adults who can't read and write. And not only is this reflected in our colleges and universities, it's beginning to be felt by our businesses. When they look for qualified candidates, they discover that it's very difficult for them to find candidates who can express themselves well during interviews and who can write coherently
On a professional level.
on a professional level.
Not some blog
ex-
type thing, which is very informal, but you're talking about something that is a formal presentation, formal levels of communication that are representative of the business.
Right, the
for whom
businesses
they
do
are
not
currently
need,
working.
right, they do not need outstanding tweeters, they need outstanding writers. And I think we've reached the end of another edition of Technology and Education Today. For Technology and Education Today, I'm Richard Smith.
And I'm Caroline Crawford. Bye.